Right then, I am joined today by the awesome Brian Hickey of Total Toy Books fame to talk about his upcoming Kickstarter campaign for the third volume of Total Action Force. Brian, thanks for joining me today, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. Always great to be back on the full force and talking my favorite topic, which is Action Force.
Absolutely. Now, there is a third volume of Total Action Force coming, which is amazing. Now, that you were very graciously allowed us to be the first to kind of break that news. So thank you very much for allowing us to share that amazing news. What can you tell us about it? I mean, what can we expect from this particular volume?
Well, the plan for this volume is to kind of round out the Action Force trilogy that we've been working on since 2021. And what made this book possible was because of the work that I've done with Bob Breakin on the My Palatoy storybook. I got access to a whole load of images and slides and Polaroids from his personal collection, and also the collection of his late friend and the brilliant Palatoy designer, Brian Turner. And those images show images that I'd never seen before of kind of different concepts for some of the different teams, vehicles that they were planning to develop for Z Force and to expand the Action Force. You know, like these are original Palatoy vehicle ideas and not necessarily, you know, Hasbro vehicles brought into the line. And they were gone beyond drawing stage. So they had done actual physical kit bash mock-ups of these to show how they might work. So there's material like that, but there's also Polaroids and transparencies of, you know, characters that we know that were never made. So like the female science officer from Space Force that was never produced. There's a Polaroid of that kind of clay sculpt of that original figure. And there's the Space Force engineer, things like that. But then there's also lots of great drawings that by Bob and by Brian Turner for concepts and ideas that never went beyond kind of drawing stage. It's a huge amount of material. And also kind of an extension of that, working on the My Palatoy story, I got to connect with Sean Woodward. And Sean Woodward was one of the designers at a design agency called Raffo and Pape. And Bob mentions them a lot in his talks. They were kind of like an independent design agency, and Palatoy would commission them to do a lot of work. So Sean very graciously has given me access to the full
Force.
The full Force Raffo and Pape archive of design sketches, and they really helped set the tone for what Action Force would be. Absolutely. And I love that you're putting My Palatoy story up on the screen there, because it's an amazing book, and you can order from totaltoybooks.com. We're down to only, like, the quantity is very low, about 30 copies is all that's left in stock. So if you want to get a copy, grab it now. So between Bob's personal collection, the Brian Turner's personal collection of images, and the Raffo and Pape archive, that's a huge amount of what you would call kind of concept material or early development material. Some of it made it into production, some of it didn't. And then of course what I also want to do with this book is, you know, feature what we did get. We never showed off the carded releases or the boxed releases of the figures in Total Action Force, the battle years. So we want to be able to show that in Total Action Force Volume 3. So the full carded lineups, the full boxed vehicle lineups, all of that. So if you've got Volume 1 and Volume 2, you're going to need Volume 3 to really complete your Action Force story in book form.
That's absolutely phenomenal. Now, obviously, you know, you talked a little bit about what we've got to come actually in the book. What can you tell us about when this is actually kicking off? When is the Kickstarter happening?
I would love to launch the Kickstarter at the end of May. I just need to get, obviously, we've all recently funded the Total Star Wars Toys, the Palatoy Saga book. So I'm knee deep in design right now. Oh, thank you. That was actually, and a big thanks to everybody who came on board and supported that book, because that's another really important part of the overall Palatoy legacy, is what they did for the Star Wars brand. So that's one that's really close to my heart as well. So I'm kind of knee deep in the design on that. So once I've got my first draft design completed, it'll give me a little bit more bandwidth then to launch this new Kickstarter. So the plan is to kind of have that first draft design for Star Wars done,
Yeah.
by the end of May, and then we'll go live with the Kickstarter. But we will be keeping the word out there on our socials, giving people an exact launch date as we get close to the time. And of course, the TotalToyBooks.com mailing list. If you're not already on that, sign up over at TotalToyBooks.com, and you'll get notified there as soon as we have an exact launch date to get blasted on that.
Awesome. Links in the description if you want to stay notified on that Kickstarter kicking off, of course, guys. And finally, is there anything else you can talk about regarding the book? I know obviously we got to share a beautiful cover of what we can expect on that cover thing. Yeah, tell us about that artist, all that kind of good stuff.
Well, that's an amazing cover art, and that's done by an Irish artist called Kevin Keane. Kevin's done a lot of work in comics. He's worked on for a lot of the big titles for Marvel and DC. So, and I reached out to Kevin, and he very graciously agreed to come on board and turn that piece around really, really quick for me. So, and he did an amazing piece. So I was able to share with Kevin some reference material. So that included obviously the Baron Ironblood concept and all the spacecraft that you see in that particular cover. They're all pulled from kind of Palitoy drawings or Raffo and Pape drawings as well. So he worked all those in there too. So he did an amazing job, and he turned that around like within a week.
It's awesome, and it's still in keeping with your previous covers as well, which is really nice. That's sort of like obviously specific characters related to the contents, of course, but like the fact that you guys are doing this kind of concept stuff. I think we've seen little concepts here and there kind of creep out over the years, and we've seen like some images and stuff, but this is going to be stuff that people haven't seen before. This is stuff that has kind of been, like you said, in like the possession of designers like Bob and other people involved at Palitoy. So I mean, we're talking, this volume is going to have a lot of new stuff for people to get stuck into.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there will, of course, be stuff there that you've seen already, because a lot of that, pre-production concept work, it's made it out, amongst the fan community, over the years. So you'll see those kind of familiar pieces, but you will definitely see pieces that you've never ever seen before. And even with some of the concepts that you are familiar with, you might see maybe slightly different versions of those that you haven't seen. And in terms of the image quality, because everything's being scanned by me, that the image quality is going to be, well, you've never seen it in as good quality as you're going to see it in this book.
Amazing. Brilliant. Thank you, Brian, for coming on and chatting with me about Total Action Force Volume 3. Kickstarter coming very soon. Keep an eye on that. And if you want to be notified, link in the description. Also, TotalToyBooks.com if you need any information as well as the amazing other things available at Total Toy Books, and Skeletron.com, including Battle Action Force Treasury Editions, multiple Total Action Force volumes, all that kind of good stuff. My Palitoy Story, of course, as we've already mentioned.
My Palitoy Story. And of course, if you're into your vintage Action Force and custom action figures, there is the fantastic More News As It's Made by David Gillis, also on TotalToyBooks.com. So that a must for vintage Action Force fans and fans of kind of world building and customizing. It's a great book.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brian Budd. Obviously, at the end of all these things, you know what to do. I'll be coming right back to you guys on the Full Force Weekly. But for now, Brian, after 3, I think you know what to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Force! Amazing.